Hi, I'm Chandler Klebs, and there's something that's been on my mind the past week that I wanted to record a video about. See, my mom asked me about a week ago, or maybe longer than that, if I wanted to watch one of the episodes of some DVD that she got from the library called Secrets of the Bible. And so I looked through them and I said, well, I want to see the one about about evolution. It was about natural selection, and the problem is, first of all, I mean, I didn't like their take on it. It was a misrepresentation of evolution, and it basically, they were making the claim on there that evolution is totally false because it's all based off of fossils that have been fabricated. And see, here's the deal. I think the layperson, they believe that fossil evidence is required for evolution to be proven as a fact. And I disagree with that. I have a new take on it. I say evolution is self-evident. The very fact that living things evolve, they change over time, that's the reason bacteria can become resistant to antibiotics. Obviously, some of them mutate in a way that is more resistant to the antibiotics, so they become resistant. I mean, living things change all the time. To say that they don't is to deny the natural selection and artificial selection. You know, people who breed dogs and how they breed smaller and smaller dogs and end up with a Chihuahua. I mean, obviously, now that people know about genetics, they're able to analyze the DNA of things, and you can just analyze the DNA of different animals. And even though I don't know how to do that, the smart scientist people know how to do that. It's plainly obvious that mutations occur, that offspring of two parents are not all identical. They vary in gender, in height and weight and skin color, hair color. The genes are sort of shuffled every time that people reproduce when the sperm meets the egg. This applies to all animals, humans included, and so there's no doubt that evolution is a fact. I mean, even if you exclude all other animals and you look at humans, look at the differences in appearance of those classified as humans. You've got people with all skin colors, all different hair colors, some people who are really tall, some people who are really short. And so obviously, this is interesting because my mom is a Christian, and so she sort of believes the Bible, parts of it, that whatever sounds good to her. But see, here's the deal. According to creationist logic, the world is about 6,000 years old from how I understand it. And that we all descended from two people named Adam and Eve created by God. Now, what's interesting is if you believe that, even though I disagree with that, obviously, that's very impressive that in 6,000 years, these many different types of humans have evolved from two common ancestors 6,000 years ago. Now, that's even more impressive for evolution if you believe in a 6,000-year-old Earth than if you believe the common scientific thing that it's millions or billions of years old. I don't know how old the Earth is, and I kind of think the universe in general is infinitely old. But anyway, my point is that evolution is self-evident. Now, you might disagree about what common ancestor two different animals might have had, and I think that maybe fossil and DNA evidence might be able to settle that. I think they probably have settled stuff like that by now. But here's my mother's objection, it seems, and I've been thinking about it. I've been really thinking hard about what my mom said. She thinks that evolution should not be taught in schools because it's not true. It's a theory, not a fact. And also, she talks about how, well, what's the point of life if there's no God? And I don't say what I'm thinking because I don't want to get into a religious discussion with my mother. She yelled at me enough when she first found out I believed in evolution, but what's the point if a God like anything in the Bible does exist? I just don't get it. I just don't understand why someone would get hope from believing in the God of the Bible. I mean, but my mom believes God's nice, and I asked her even if God commanded those animal sacrifices that are commanded in the Old Testament. And she said she didn't think God did that. So it's interesting. So it's sort of like she wants to believe in a God that's all good, and so it's humans' fault for being evil because they chose to do it. So essentially my mom's a believer in free will. And this is tricky because, I'm part of a podcast explaining why nobody has a free will. And I'm atheist, but I understand in the context of theism, if God is the creator of all things, then everything is God's will that happens. Everything, including me being atheist and disagreeing with my mother over evolution, that has to be God's will. Because otherwise you have to say that humans with their free will are more powerful than God, and that there's no plan because humans freely choose, whatever that means. And I've gone through this over and over in my videos. Either our choices are caused by prior events, even before our conception, over which we could not choose because we weren't around, obviously, or if you throw in randomness or acausality or indeterminism, then things happen randomly, meaning humans don't do it, nor no animal does, and God certainly doesn't because they're acausal. So free will is a complete illusion. So my mom's belief in an omnibenevolent God that's loving requires free will belief. And that's why I don't want to talk to my mother about it very much, because it'll just make her feel hopeless, and then she'll get mad at me for taking away her hope that her religion offers her. So it's kind of tricky. I really struggle with, how to navigate disagreements with people. Because I disagree with people on everything. I mean, I disagree with my co-hosts on the podcast all the time about things. We might disagree about certain things, about the age of the universe, and recently the guys have been arguing about whether the universe has a center, and some of that I just plain don't care about. But I mean, I think that you can have a reasonable discussion about whether or not evolution should be taught in schools, but I don't think that you can use the reasoning that evolution should not be taught because it's false, because it's true. It's obvious that life evolves. Whether there's a God or not, it's clear that evolution and natural selection still apply. Those who mutate in a way that helps them survive and reproduce will pass on more copies of their genes. I'm no expert, but I've watched videos, I've read books on natural selection, and I get the basic idea. And so I don't see why it's so hard for people to incorporate evolution into their religion, unless their religion literally requires that the Earth is 6,000 years old and that humans are a special animal created by God that's somehow special or above all the other animals. And so here's the deal. I don't necessarily know I'm not 100% sure on all the claims of those who teach evolution, but I have no issue with being a primate. I have no issue with being one of many monkeys in the world. I'm just a particular monkey with less hair than some of the other apes. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on evolution and this disagreement I've been having with my mother. And I don't know. It's just been bothering me. I think about it while I'm at work. I think about it all the time. And I'm like, well, I don't know. This creationism versus evolution debate has been raging on since long before my mother was born, probably before my grandparents were born. I mean, it's been well over 100 years. I don't remember exactly when Charles Darwin published his Origin of Species, but it's been going on a long time, and I have a feeling that I will die long before this debate ends. But I think the debate only continues because people have religious beliefs that conflict with the fact of evolution. And that's why they can't accept it, and they yell at those who do understand it and believe it. So that's my thoughts right now. I guess I'm going to shut up. So whatever.